Okay, so here is my yarn swift and my ball winder. I got my yarn swift from Knit Picks. It is the black onyx yarn swift, and I upgraded from the natural color, which is also an option if you prefer that. I of course got the black because it kind of matched with my decor a little bit, but you know, do what makes you happy. So this swift, it opens like an umbrella. So there's a piece of wood down here that we're just going to kind of push up, and it expands the swift. And then on the side of this piece of wood, and this actually separates from the umbrella piece of it, but it has a screw that we can tighten, and it's going to hold the swift open in position. I prefer to open mine a little bit. It just makes it easier for me to make sure that I get the yarn on there securely. And then we're just going to put our hands in between the hank, and I like to just kind of place it over the swift like that. Now this is a little slack for my taste. You see how it kind of, the yarn just kind of drops there, and there is some slack which I don't particularly care for. So I'm going to raise my swift a little bit more just to get it a little more taut and readjust my screw. Okay, so now we have the yarn placed on the swift, and we're going to go back and we're going to start cutting the ties. So we're going to identify first the ties that are not securing the yarn, or securing the ends rather. And we're going to cut them very close to the knot. Even with these, I still cut them very close to the knot in case I have pulled the wrong tie, because what you'll find sometimes too are different manufacturers, different dyers, you know, depending on where the yarn is sourced from, it could be tied a little differently. So you always err on the side of caution. You cut very close to the knot. There's my second tie. I'm gonna drop that off. And now we have the tie that is securing the ends. And this one you definitely want to cut, because that's the one that we're going to use to start winding. Now what you'll have to do on some of them is kind of unloop them and identify which end of the yarn is going to come from the outside of the hank. So here are my two ends here. Let me give you a better view. So there are my two ends, and one of these is going to come a little more easily from the hank. I'm going to do a little gentle pulling to see if I can find the right one. And it should pull from the outside unless you've put your yarn on inside out. And I have no problems with kind of going back, retracing my steps, tucking that back on the inside. Let's try the other tie. Hopefully this one is the right one. And there it is. So we've identified the end that comes from the outside of the hank. And we do all of this because it's going to lessen the chance of you tangling your yarn while you're twisting your ball. All right, so we have our end. What we're going to do here, if you have a ball winder, or if you don't have a ball winder, these, you can find these on Amazon. Knit Picks also sells them. And as a matter of fact, you can also purchase Knit Picks products on Amazon. So best of both worlds. Here's what I do. Here you see you have this metal arm right here. This is going to hold the yarn and feed it into the ball winder from the swift. I just take my yarn and I do a little loop-de-loop to get it through the hole. When I first got mine, I was trying to feed it through the hole. That doesn't work, or it's a little tedious. And then we have here, there are two slits in the top of the ball winder, and we're going to just kind of tighten that in there a little bit. Now I wind clockwise, and it tends to work well with the direction that my swift is in. So we're going to start winding, and you want to catch this little tail just so it doesn't pop off. And I usually start winding kind of slow, and I use my hand here to guide the yarn. This also helps me feel for any knots that may be in the yarn that I want to stop and catch, looking for kinks, things of that nature, and just kind of keep the tension even. Once you get comfortable and you get a good amount of yarn around the winder, you can pick up the pace a little bit, and I like to kick it up pretty good. I didn't mention this at the beginning. The yarn that I'm using is a DK weight yarn, so it's about 230 yards per 100 grams. And the color is Goddess Galaxy. This is the color that I dyed. So DK weight does not take long at all. Fingering weight or sock weight yarn takes a lot longer. And of course, as you go up, it reduces the time that you're winding. And we're just I'm gonna let you see what it looks like for those who don't have a ball winder. I'm doing this in real time so that you can see how long it doesn't take. I'm going to slow down for a minute because I felt something and I wanted to kind of show you guys something that may happen as you're winding yarn. So here's my other end of the yarn right here, and you'll notice that sometimes as you're starting to get towards the end of the ball, this piece of yarn, this other end, starts to fly away from the swift. I like to stop if I can catch it and try to tuck it back in. There have been times when I didn't tuck it in and it got twisted around the base of the swift. So we don't want that to happen. So I'm going to tuck this back in a little bit, and then we're going to finish out our ball. It's still flying. It's hitting me on my arm. And there we go. So we have now finished winding up one ball of DK weight. Some people use the ball winder specifically to make center pull balls or cakes. I don't necessarily, I don't have a preference. You know, I keep a yarn ball that also helps, you know, move the ball, the yarn more freely if you use the yarn ball. But if you wanted to use a center pull skein, you're going to grab that piece that you started with. You're going to, from in the middle, you're going to pull that up, hold that, and slide the yarn off of the ball winder. So that is the process for using a yarn swift and a ball winder to make a cake. This is called a cake. I'm not sure why. Maybe because it's cute and all crisscrossed. But this is what it looks like when it's done. If you follow these steps, invest in these tools, you will never suffer through hours of winding yarn by hand again. I will come back with another tutorial to show you how you can use, how you can wind the skein by hand using 2 chairs. That is also a process. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Share it with your friends, and I will see you back for our next video.